architects on the project manager on this project. I'm going to kind of review three options that we're bringing to you today. Last Wednesday, we had Dr. Loa, Bonnie, and Ed McKinney came to our office, and we kind of sat down and had a little mini charrette. Previous to that, in the house, we had done our own charrette, looking at different floor plans, options on how to put this addition onto Toliver, and also at the same time look at how that addition affects the site, and vice versa, how the site affects the addition. So this, before this meeting, we had a steering committee meeting where we kind of reviewed these three options and got some feedback and some direction, but I think again, I want to come through our board and kind of reiterate kind of where we're at. I'm going to start with Scheme A. On Scheme A, what we're looking at is, again, the site circulation on how we're really looking at in terms of buses, parent drop-off, visitors, everything else that's coming into the building, the way we're building. Now the existing site works now, but also how it wants to work in the future. In this scheme, what we're calling like more of a full wraparound of the gym addition. So we're going to come out back behind this kitchen, go around the gym, and then connect back into the 1955 two-story classroom addition. So again, we're keeping everything on the same level. With this, what we're looking at site-wise is a bus loop out onto the side, kind of where it currently is, but expand it a little bit. Also relocate the parking back to the what would probably be, I think, the southwest corner. So again, right near the tobacco warehouses. We'd also look at putting a parent drop-off lane on this, but in both cases, you could switch this to a bus or that to a parent drop-off, and then put some parking out front for staff out here. And with this scheme, in most all schemes, we're looking at probably doing a new entrance off to the side into the school, just because of site circulation in terms of where people will be dropped off, both by buses and by cars, and also the controlling, creating new secure entry vestibule into that admin, so you can kind of control visitors coming in to the building on a daily basis. Also, there's some handicap issues that are resolved by putting the admin on this new side, on the south side. As you can see, I'm going to move over to the floor plans here. Again, that wraparound concept here, basically everything from here around to here is all the original building, along with the gym and the original stage. So the idea here, in most cases, again, trying to put a new restroom, stair, and elevator core up the 3 stories to match, because we need to create handicap access to all 3 floors, which is not available right now. So, and then also, one of the ideas is to create the new restrooms. We had some focus group meetings about a month ago with all the teachers. And one thing they commented on was the 2 restrooms were separated in the corners. So the matter of monitoring the kids when they go to the restroom is very difficult for one teacher to do that at a time. Also the cost to renovate those back into existing restrooms, because we pretty much have to gut them and rebuild them. So the cost is almost equal, if not less, to build a new one, restroom core, which would also be able to a staff restroom and a custodial closet, which is kind of lacking on all the floors also currently. So again, that'd be something else to get in there. And with that, looking at an admin, the new entrance on this end, kitchen, cafeteria kind of off the back. Cafeteria would have glass out to the west and access that way. Cafeteria, media center again would have glass on 2 sides of it. And turn around the corner to make the connection back into the old part of the building would be a multi-purpose classroom, about 1,500 square feet, with a new smaller stage, more fitted for education on elementary size students, maybe like 2 risers up. Have some theater lights out a little bit, a smaller theater. Currently, the existing stage right now is up about 3 feet, and it's usually mostly a storage space. It's not a very usable space right now. That space, one idea we've looked at is to relocate the music program from the basement below the stage up to that stage level, building a wall, and also looking at how to get a lift and some steps up to have to use that space. It's a nice volume space for music classrooms. It's also a nice, about 1,500 square feet, so it's a nice size for a music, vocal, gives a lot of flexibility. It can also be a multi-purpose classroom at that size, so we can look at how we outfit that space also. up to the second floor, one of the things that we heard from last week was trying to get all the classrooms. I should say, let me step back. Adding 6 classrooms on the second floor, so a whole grade could be in that classroom wing in the new space. And with that, we'd have to, on the second floor of the 1955 edition, look at maybe putting a part of the admin, maybe like guidance counselor or some other instructional courses or conference rooms up in here, the computer lab maybe also in that area. So there's some flexibility that we're trying to look into all this. On the first floor, I've got some spaces that are labeled art/FRC/FMD. Those can be flexible spaces. It doesn't need to be one of those. It could be one of those 3 spaces easily. Also out front, next to the entrance. The concept, again, also for the new people is renovating the existing classrooms in the existing part of the school. Is we've determined that we need 6 classrooms per grade level, so that works out really well in renovating the 6 classrooms that are on each floor. So again, the original 1928 building would handle 6 classrooms on the first floor for second grade. We move up to the second floor. Again, we can look at 6 classrooms that can hold third grade, fourth grade, and then in the addition, put 6 more classrooms again for a third or fourth grade, or the fifth grade, depending on how we see this laid out. And then the third floor, again, could be fifth grade, is what we kind of heard in the focus group has been on top floor, but taking the existing media center and turning it into another special for a multi-purpose room. More maybe associated with math and science for the upper grade levels, fourth or fifth grade, to use that space. The multi-purpose room down on the first floor, maybe more arts and humanities, and again, somehow we fit it out, the flooring, the materials that we're putting into it, to make it very usable and very flexible to the classrooms. But once we multi-purpose, we kind of want to narrow its focus so it's not trying to be everything for everyone. A lot of those types of spaces aren't as successful when you kind of want to be flexible, but you kind of want to narrow and be flexible about. That's scheme A. Let me go on to scheme B here real quick. Very similar to Scheme A in terms of the site layouts. Again, we're looking at putting a new access drive along the north side. And in this case, this would be more for the bus drop-off and deliveries, because I would have a delivery route to the kitchen that ended up on this side. Buses would be able to stack along here, feed into a new corridor, new entrance off of the cafeteria down here. And then also maybe some parking spaces up along here for visitors, for potentially for if the FRC is located in that 1955 edition space, or just in general, maybe some staff parking along there. And in the back, we would have, over here, we would have staff and visitor parking, potentially here and here, with parent drop-off in the loop that's kind of now occupied by the bus loop. So they come around, drop off their students on the curve. The students would enter in by the administration into the cafeteria floor and release that same way in the afternoon. In this scheme, we're looking at opening up the front part of the building to more of a larger green space, more of a nice lawn out front, more of a ceremonial space for that. In this layout on B, you start looking at the layouts of some of the spaces. You know, we've got the admin located on the side street over here for a good presence over there, new entrance. Looking at the multi-purpose classroom, the stage along that, near that front entrance to highlight that. Again, with the restroom, elevator, stair core going up. Behind the administration, we would have the cafeteria again as an entrance right off, loading and unloading, people coming and going. Looking at putting an art or FRC or an FMD room, that has some flexibility on how it lands and moves around in that space also. It creates an outdoor, a little smaller courtyard again for art. It could be its own dedicated courtyard. For FMD, it could be a dedicated playground specifically for those types of students and their special needs. On the second floor, In this scheme, we brought the media center up to the second floor, so we're looking at starting to stack some of these spaces and not having a big first floor footprint. We're looking at more of economy of scale, I should say, economy of scale, but it's economies of building material. In this scheme, I would have to build less footers or foundations, less roof areas. So again, it's starting to look at more economies of materials and more use of a compact design. We'd also look at 6 classrooms in that addition, so that layout could vary a little bit. You know, we put on a new stair at the very end for classes to prevent a dead end corridor and access up and down to media center again. This addition could be a multitude of third, fourth, or fifth graders could be in that 6 classroom addition. Likewise, the spaces on the first, second, and third floor still remain the same use in terms of reprogramming spaces. The one thing I forgot to mention, when we reprogram some of these spaces, like the old restrooms, we take that and turn those into resource rooms. So they're about 350 square feet or so. They're really ideal for that size of spaces. Normally those would be about 400 square feet. We're also looking at reprogramming office and other special education spaces to teacher work, providing a teacher work room on one on each floor. Again, if teachers need to print or have storage, each grade set will have its own teacher work room, quickly accessible just down the hallway. Also trying to spread out the special education people, like the interventionists, the coaches, among the different floor levels. So that kind of works out by reprogramming some of those bathrooms, and also like on the second floor where the office suite is currently, reprogramming that into math intervention, speech, or English intervention, or teacher work rooms. Again, mixing and providing different sizes spaces throughout the different levels for the different classes, different grade levels. In this scheme, the media center is starting to be built out over that cafeteria. They're almost about the same square footage, so again, it's a nice economy structurally and also volume in terms of how we're going to be designing the space. As you can see, in this case, the addition kind of goes straight back out. This corridor could be shortened to more of a vestibule down into here. So there's little things that we can still adjust with these different floor plans. What we're looking for is kind of direction of which one we're looking at. Any questions on this layout? Pretty much discussion beforehand. Susan or Paige, do you have any? I know you're kind of catching up on some of this. Good.
Carrying on this, you did on A and B, the drive, the admin drive. What kind of cost is that?
That adds, I mean, when you look at C, it adds a lot of cost because it's a pretty long drive. One drawback I see is you've got some nice trees along here. It'd be nice to try to save those, lose those trees with this thing. You also start seeing that the impact on the green space back here for play fields or playgrounds. We can maybe adjust this driveway a little bit, maybe have it 10, 12 feet off the property line to kind of start creating a little more space. But I'm starting to zone that area a little bit. So you can see there, this has more parking up front. And option C, just quickly go over that and then we'll kind of go back to each one. This scheme we're looking at, again, very similar to option B, but it's got more parking and more circulation up front on the school, creating maybe a bigger green space on the north side of the building. In this case, right now we kind of reverse the flow, because right now the flow comes in and goes out. And also right now it's only a right-hand turn only, but I imagine a lot of people turn left anyways. We would also need to talk with the city about some of this flow too. But in this case, we're looking at having an entrance here. So this would be a left-hand turn here, or a right-hand turn circulating through. The idea of this would be parent drop-off. So it's a much longer drop-off area now on the parent drop-off. Exiting down here so they would be able to stack before they turn left or right down here, so create a bigger backspace. But also brings them back into this intersection where they can choose to go down this way or in different routes. In this scheme, we would look at the bus loop back here. We can reduce this in scale or size, or massage this as we get further down, but also acts as a delivery zone. Again, backing up to the tobacco warehouses on the west side of the property, we thought this would be a better place to bring in deliveries or buses and kind of keep the public out front. The other thing this would do is recreate parking for staff and visitors along that route. This would probably be more for staff parking out front. One other option with this would be to keep this going the same direction, but instead of exiting here, it would be a right-hand turn only and send everyone back here, which could actually increase your stacking space on site. So something else to look at with that. Again, the size of this, we could adjust the shape and the length in terms of the number of buses, whether how they stack, whether it's diagonal, staggered, or end-to-end. We could also increase this, and probably most any scheme, to also include this as hardscape basketball backstops by putting a gate down here for deliveries to come straight in and back out, or be able to turn around in this area. Reserving this area, put a gate here and a gate here for recess. So they can go out there on a hard surface. We can have Foursquare, hopscotch, different game painted on that, but also backs the basketball out there too. Because right now there's a, you can see it faintly, but there's a blacktop area here that can serve as that hard surface with backstops on it. But in this game, you can see how much more green space that would preserve in here. Maybe a little over here, and we can adjust some of this stuff. But what's nice about this is where we could do this crosswalk and then we enter, we move the admin kind of more center to the building in this case. So you enter more on the circulation spine. You know, the idea here would be more of a two-story atrium built on the left side of the, behind the gym. So you walk in, it'd be the two-story space, and there'd be a little bridge on the second floor. The idea here, the admin here, you have this multi-purpose with a little stage area on that. So as you enter, you have that nice little space off to the left. You enter into the space. Also, that atrium could serve as a vestibule into the cafeteria. But also, we start capturing a door into the gym area. So again, when you bring public into that main entrance, you're at a lot of major intersection with some major components of the school. Again, that big spaces, with multi-use spaces too. So very functional. And the education's happening a little bit further away. We would look at possibly an FRC or FMD down here again. FRC likes that separate entrance off to the side, that's a little down to the main entrance. But also it's a good place for the FMD that they would be on, they would be at grade. That's one of the other challenges that we're trying to do with all three schemes is try to get this floor level and the grade kind of more matched. If you walk out the back of the cafeteria, your kitchen, there's about a 4 or 5 foot drop. And so we would need to build some of them planned up. We'd also look at maybe trying to push the floor plate down a little bit to get a little bit more volume. In schemes B and C, that allows this has a little more flexibility for this half to be sunk down. In that wraparound scheme, I pretty much got to keep everything at that floor level because I'm connecting at so many different points of the existing building. It's difficult to build a lot of ramps, a lot of steps in that. In this scheme, looking up at the second floor, again, we've got 6 classrooms. Up here, we've got now media center's now also moved up to the second floor. The idea there, again, is it's real central to most of the kids. So it's up one flight for the second graders, but it's on a main level where you've got 2 grade levels of, potentially the 3rd and 4th graders on that one level. So it's pretty much at the core. The other thing that we would be looking at, as you can see, the cafeteria and the media center are pretty much the same footprint, is a lot of glass on the north side of the building. So I'd be able to bring in a lot of natural light without a lot of the glare that you get when you face east or south or west. So that's a nice thing, especially for the media center, and that sort of reading light, but also for the cafeteria having that direct connection to the outside in terms of doors, just an outdoor eating space, or playground, having a vestibule here so kids either from the cafeteria could go out that way or do this way. Gym could also go out through that vestibule down there, stuff like that. We could look at putting some canopies or overhead spaces. Like I suggested, maybe making that media center maybe a little deeper, creating an overhang space for outdoor seating as a cover space, but using the second floor to use that as that cover. Again, looking at relocating part of the admin suite and a computer lab up there. The computer lab really could be a flexible classroom, for one of those years that you might need 7 grade. There are 7 classes for that grade level that can be that. The other thing that we need to look at for the computer lab is talking to a lot of people. Computer labs are kind of going away or being repurposed. More of that computer learning is happening in the classroom. And where are we going to be in 5 years, 10 years? The kids are going to come to school with their own device, either a tablet or a small laptop of some sort. And so that would be more happening in the classroom versus a special area. I had one superintendent ask me, when I was designing schools, ask me, how do professionals people use your computers? You don't go to a special room in your business to work on the computer. You're doing it at your desk. You're using Word, processing Excel, find stuff. You're already at your desk. Why can't you do that with your students? Classrooms. So, kind of the direction that we heard a little bit earlier was kind of leaning towards C, but looking at maybe even a 3rd story option of taking 3 of these classrooms and putting them up on the 3rd floor and maybe splitting the media center. So we're going to be taking a look at that real quick here this week and trying to also start looking at 3D models on how these 2 schemes start working with the existing building. Because right now you've got a 3-story wing here. It's also how this whole volume is measure and match up to this existing facade. We've heard some direction a little bit about looking at different styles. We don't want to match necessarily this architectural style on this facade. We want to respect it. We want something new. We want something a little bit different, but it needs to gel together. In any of these cases, with this trying to move the administration and the new entrance off to the side, it's going to have its own specialness. I know we can't compete with this grand old lady entrance over here, which is absolutely beautiful, but it has certain problems that we need to overcome. One would be handicap access ramps. That would have to do a zigzag of ramps to get up from, there's probably about 5 to 6 feet from this parking lot level up to that area. The other problem is once you get into this area, I'd have to bring a ramp inside. I go in the door. Well, I don't have anywhere I can securely hold people before they're dispersed. Right now, you come in the door, you get buzzed into this door, but what prevents you from running upstairs, running past? You're not locked in. Also, I've got 3 steps that I go back down, or I've got another flight going back up the 2nd floor. So it's not. There's stuff that we'd have to overcome, and I don't want to really destroy that area because I'd really like to open up the stairwell a little bit more, especially removing that 1 classroom and that office that's put on that other side, and make this more of a space where learning could happen on the stairwell. You could use soft-sided furniture there. You could have some tables and chairs underneath the 2nd floor, the flight to the 2nd floor. Again, to make that a nice special area for the 2nd grader or for another classroom. Learning can happen anywhere in this building, not just in the classrooms. I know I heard from Kate about what we're going to do in these existing classrooms. The other thing that we're trying to balance is the cost of what we're going to put out in the addition, but also renovate the new spaces. And that's just as important as what we're going to do out here. My goal is to really refresh all these classrooms, new flooring materials, new wall colors, replace all the old chalkboards with marker boards, and tack boards, add more storage, countertops, put a new ceiling in. So really refreshing. When you walk into those, you won't recognize those classrooms. Definitely more electrical outlets for those classrooms, more wireless connection points in all those classrooms. Really make it more of a learning thing. So those existing classrooms are the great size. They're 800 square feet, which matches the KDE recommendation that we're going to be building out here. So that's the other nice advantage to these classrooms. It's going to take a lot of effort because there's the wood floors up there, a lot of them squeak, so we need to solve that problem. You keep those wood floors. How do you prevent them from squeaking? Or do we look at new flooring materials in the space, whether it be like carpet squares or VCT, which they all have their pluses and minuses versus first cost versus the life cycle cost. So that's the other thing that we'll be looking throughout when we're designing all of this material that we're putting in, not just first cost. Because like VCT is very low first cost. But the problem with VCT, it has a very high life cycle cost. Every year you're stripping, you're waxing. In order to do that, you move tables and chairs, everything out of this classroom, and all on back in. If we look at rubber tile, rubber flooring, you don't have to wax it. It's a better material. Carpet squares are also a little bit more expensive, but product again, life cycles, they're easy to clean. A lot of times they hold the Allen checks. And my lectures can go on and on about all these different materials that you can put in, and we'll be looking at all that stuff throughout this. Won't be the last time I'm here. I'm hoping to be here almost every meeting to really update you on the progress that we have. Like I said, I think from what I heard from the steering committee this afternoon is they prefer option C in terms of the site layout. They want me to take a look at what if we took this to a 3-story addition with 3 classrooms on the 3rd floor, 3 classrooms on the 2nd floor, and maybe start tweaking, we'll start looking at this in finer detail, some of the relationships to this area. With the media center here stacked on top, the cafeteria and maybe a classroom here, we could look at also having a green roof or a small green roof. I could slide this classroom over, put a hallway out into a small, 800 square foot green roof that could also access off of the media center or an outdoor reading area. So something like that. That's a nice option like that. And then provide screening materials because the kitchen exhaust hood would also have to come up through there. We also need to look at, for the site circulation, I'm going to have dumpsters. I'm going to have a service area. I want to move this cooling tower and the transformer that are out here that just don't do anything for this elevation. Again, looking at this area, providing maybe some screenage, walls or screen materials for that. A few parking spaces out here for kitchen staff. So again, looking at how all the site issues work together, how the building floor plan, the relationships within the building itself, how all that interacts with each other. That's kind of where we ended up with scheme C. I don't know if you want to have any questions or want to weigh on anything.
Is the 3rd floor, is it identical?
Pretty much. In terms of what I've done, I'm looking at in restrooms, the determinants or resource, instructional coach, maybe a teacher workroom where we can flip-flop those to some extent. 2 classrooms, 2 classrooms, 2 classrooms. Take the old media center and turn it, open up that corridor, turn it into a STEM stream, or kind of more of a math science multi-purpose classroom. So it'd be a small idea there, a small mini lab, a computer where you might have a bank of 15 desktops. But you'd also have the opportunity to bring out laptops and make it a full computer lab. Or places where you have the Lego build or the robot build out in here, or some sort of math skills down the idea with this multi-purpose room is more arts and humanities idea, art, movement center, drama, and that's why again we looked at putting a small stage on there. You could bring in risers for vocal on stage, or maybe small platforms for seating to help with that rise. I don't want to build those into the building because once you start building risers or tiers, you've lost all flexibility in that space. The other thing to consider, not just the floor plan of the building here, but also the furniture, is going to play a tremendous role in how this building operates and how you're going to teach. And we want to help you look at furniture, because that's really what's going to set this apart from where you are today. We're going to provide the 4 walls, lights, update all that in the hard infrastructure, but it's really just putting soft-sided furniture in maybe a couple spaces, or desks that have different shapes that you could move around and make different shapes or different groupings day to day, week to week. That's where it's really going to help. These rooms are going to become very flexible in the staff. The 3rd floor, restrooms, elevators, stair, kind of on that end. Currently, we have a code violation with the dead-end corridor over 20 feet here, so again, that's why we want to build the stair tower over here. And also having an elevator for ADA access. So if a 2nd grader needs to get up to the 3rd floor STEM room, they can get there easily.
What else is on the 3rd floor right now?
Right now, this is the media center, classroom, computer lab, and I think those are classrooms. You got the restrooms here. I'm trying to remember, this is a special education speech, or who's up there right now.
But as far as the layout, it looks exactly like that. You're just going to rearrange things?
Yeah, we're trying to minimize how much physical we're changing in these rooms. Now, one thing that we might have to change is up on the third floor and also on the second floor and the first floor is that I have well, first of all, these restrooms in and out onto the stair landing. If we go back in this, we'll move that access back to the hallway, main hall, not off the stair landing. That's the other thing we want to look at, these corner classrooms that come off of that stairwell. That's kind of a code violation right now. I'd probably look at maybe making a little alcove out of these two classrooms to go into this other classrooms. I got to see structurally and mechanically what is that would prevent me from doing that. I know there are some doors that connect some of these spaces.
You're also creating a hallway at the library. That hallway doesn't currently exist.
No, that hallway is part of the media center. So you got two doors here and here that are bypass doors. We'd like to open up that space again and make it easy for these different teachers to really communicate versus going to a classroom or another space that's another instruction room we have. One of the questions was during the DFP, LPC processes, how to make this more of a smaller school, neighborhood school. You know, we're going from 350 students-ish to 600. You know, one idea was, what we kept looking at was trying to keep grade level on each floor. I've got 6 classrooms here, but we just looking at break that down to two, so I can get team teaching on there. So all the second graders are on one floor themselves in the community of themselves. You go up to the second floor, and that's the idea of either 2, whether it be 3rd or 4th grade, and out here in this addition, keeping those at grade level there. Likewise on the 3rd floor, having that all one grade level. So again, that's trying to break down the scale of the building, kind of keep the grade separation. I know we've looked at one request is maybe put lockers back into the corridor for 5th grade to get them ready for middle school, where on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, maybe put coming inside the classrooms. Again, we're trying to weigh everything with that. We're also trying to make classrooms standardized to a certain degree. That way in the future, if a 2nd grade classroom becomes 3rd, or we start moving around, or you do different types of style teaching, the basics are there. The amount of marker boards, the amount of tack boards, the amount of storage that's in there, we'd like to standardize that to a certain degree. Also, the heights that we mount those marker boards at is one indication. You know, 2nd grade, you know, maybe a little bit, you know, a little closer to the ground, and you know, maybe on the 2nd floor they might rise up 2 inches, and on the 3rd floor they might be, you know, a little bit higher to help with those grade levels. That would be the only kind of customization that we maybe look at doing in those different classrooms to help with, you know, kids. That's it, time when they're really growing. And I don't want to put a marker board down this level and you get a 5'10" 5th grader trying to write, you know. And likewise with teachers too, you get all sides of the teachers.
The campus footprint on C.
Yeah.
One thing I don't want us to underestimate, I think, is the importance of the wayfinding and the traffic patterns. And we can control, we have full control over where buses go.
Yes.
As much as we would like to encourage good behavior on parents in the pickup and drop-off pattern, they're very good about finding the most efficient way for them to get to where they need to be.
Right.
To that end, I keep looking at it and wondering if we need to move the pickup and drop-off to the western side of the building, where there is many more ways to stack cars than there is on the east side.
Okay.
Because every time we keep looking at the east side, it's always complicated. We're shorting corners on the busiest street. Yet if we move it to the opposite side, we've got
shift this down.
Or even to where the bus, I'm wondering if you need to almost trade where the buses go with cars and flip it entirely and reroute. Move the office, flip it to the corner.
Out to here?
Roughly. And then add a different way for there to be kitchen pickup.
Yeah, you could almost then enter through here and exit.
Because I think you've got better options than to stack. There'd be easier negotiations with the city, because some of those lanes we need to turn them into one way. We can even pick up those conversations. It's just as closer we get to Maple, the more in which I think we don't know what to predict in doubling the number of parents who potentially are picking up and dropping off.
Yeah, but again, when we looked at this, you know, deliveries to the cafeteria, I don't want to have that.
Right.
What I'm also trying to do is, where you run your buses and deliveries, you want to do what we call heavy-duty pavement. So that's more of like a 4-inch section of asphalt with an 1.5-inch topping course. All this other area, I can do more light-duty, standard duty lot less cost. And when I start doing long runs of heavy duty, I'm spending a lot of money to do dual purpose. This, I guess, I mentioned before, this kind of can serve, you only run your buses twice a day. Otherwise, that's going to remain open and blank. So again, you could easily gate that section off and repurpose it for playground, like not playground, but physical activities. And you can run, you can stripe it for running lanes, for gym classes.
But you still could fit that entire horseshoe on the south side in the exact same way you described. That could still be the heavy duty asphalt just on the south side.
South side, yeah, running up and down.
Right. If needed.
The only question is, the playground and those relationships. I mean, the playground and the hard surface basketball relationships. We can. I'll take that back and start asking that question. What if we started looking at vehicular stacking?
Maybe I think that we could easily underestimate the traffic tie-ups that can occur.
We're also going to start talking to the city on get their input on how they see this. The idea is bringing the exit back further to allow the dispersal to happen this way. We're also trying to minimize the crossing of buses and parents. That's the other idea. Through here, buses could easily come in this way or come around this way and avoid this street altogether.
It's kind of hard to know too, just to what extent parents who've been driving their kids to school because school's close might opt for bus transportation, knowing that this might be harder with traffic. And I think that it makes it a little bit easier thinking that these are 2nd through 5th graders and not those little kindergarten kids that you feel like you've got to escort them to school.
Right.
So I it'll be interesting to see, and I don't know if there's any way to predict what'll happen with us with that balance of car riders and bus riders.
And no matter how, and I hate saying this, but no matter how much you plan to try to second guess what's going to happen, you can almost never have enough stacking space for parent drop-off.
Well, I do think it's important we have as less stacking space sitting on Maple Avenue. I live on Maple Avenue.
Okay.
So at about 2:30 each day, the cars start doing the progression. If you've ever picked up your kids there, you sort of know how that works. Now, you double the size of the school, or almost double the size of the school. We're talking going down the road now, past Lexington and right on down Maple Avenue. So those cars will move. So we do have to figure out a way to keep as much of that traffic off of Maple.
And that was the one idea when we thought about, well, what if we brought people in this way, X amount, and that just increases the stacking on site a little bit more.
Right. I mean, because it gives you a much longer distance.
Yeah,
than
but
what
again, this is entrance only to avoid.
But I would rather have that stacking on the city's asphalt than on mine.
Oh, yeah.
So if I can move the stacking back to the street on the, I forget the name, and so that could even become green space again in the front.
You mean the Harding Street divide?
Yeah, Harding, thank you.
Yeah, Harding.
I'd much rather the city be responsible for that. Is the recorder on? I'm sorry.
I'm also trying to provide, right now you have about 50 spots. I'm trying to provide 70, 80 parking spaces for the increased staff, but also for visitors. We can add more visitor parking, but also for event parking on here. The other thing we're looking at in terms of dropping off is always best to try to keep the drop-offs on the passenger side of the car versus trying to flip it. This, with having the admin kind of down in the middle, kind of more centrally located to the rest of the school, but it also provides a nice entrance way. And here we could provide those, like what we call speed humps, where it raises up, flattens up, dips back down. But that could also be an basically the sidewalks would be all one level, so you wouldn't have to dip down. So it helps slow down the traffic through that. It also helps define those clear paths where you're crossing access roads.
At what point in the process will the city kind of come in and, they're going to, what they say about traffic patterns and stacking and all the rest is going to bear heavily on the way that ends up, right?
We're going to try to get a meeting later this week or early next week with them to kind of start talking concepts and hear what we're thinking. Our site department, my landscape architects, from a lot of schools, so they kind of know traffic patterns and kind of what you're trying to do. Again, we're trying to get, the idea of coming in here or exiting here is getting it away from this intersection, right? Same thing with this. The more you can get away from this intersection, it allows a lot more smoother transition, stacking back here to do a left turn or a right turn if this is starting to stack. Or, again, releasing people and then they're dispersing from this intersection back here versus trying to do it one way.
When you guys are talking to the city, ask them about the $300,000 driveway for us at no cost. Because they did that to Boyle County High School. And I've got a few names for that road that we can come up with. I'm serious. If you don't ask, you'll never get it.
And when we have those meetings, I'll make sure that Dr. Loper is invited to represent the school. You know your transportation better than I do.
We want something as close as possible to excellence. Okay, Mr. McKinney?
So, it seemed like that, I mean, we ended up in the architect advisory group talking mostly about Scheme C with maybe some different options for you to bring back to us. Is that what, I mean, for you guys who are looking at this for the first time, is that kind of what you guys are thinking too? Susan?
I don't know, I mean,
I know it's a lot to take in for the
It is
first
a lot.
time. I mean,
You know, I think, it's unfortunately, Susan wasn't with us, but, you know, we had talked about and having the advantages, and Susan, we need to take you to Lowell and go see the performing arts school. But I like the fact that it was two distinct buildings. They blended basically in the hallways, and it's an easy blend by whatever you put your flooring in. And I think that we've tied up to this end, that we kept the tradition of Toliver,
yeah.
and then we've added a new. And I'm kind of like Lonnie, I think we need to put as much new things going on educationally if we can into more of that section. But I like this operation that's going on here, and I think that the building doesn't concern me so much as it does the traffic issues, because Harding is a narrow street. And I have driven a bus on that street many times, and there's not much left besides the bus and maybe a couple of parked cars. It's literally what we call it. So that's just another concern. So the traffic patterns, hopefully we can get most of it, you know, going south versus going north. So anyhow, but I don't know about you guys, but I kind of like how the exterior is on that. More green space.
Yeah, I definitely like having more green space up there. I didn't realize we even had enough room. I was looking at these other options. I didn't realize we even had enough room to go have a road down the other side.
The
I was
purple
looking
line
at
is
those.
basically the property
Yeah.
line. So there's enough room, but when you start getting up in here, you've got some nice trees, but you're also looking at, you know, 1, 2, 3 neighbors' houses that you're up against. We'd have to put some buffer, so like a 10 to 15 foot buffer,
Right.
pine trees or other types of trees in there. You know, again, that's money that is in landscaping versus.
And schools get a little bit of a,
You get a break. You don't have to.
on the road.
On the buffer, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think to be good neighbors, we want to put it right up 2 feet away, so.
What's something to be improved? Depending where you are.
Does anybody else have questions or comments?
Well, I said this earlier, but not with the full board, but and Susan, I hate that you didn't see Lincoln since we keep referencing it, but I didn't mind at all that newer section was so much. I like that they didn't they weren't held back by the older section, what they could do with the new section.
Right.
But it did really bother me when you went into the gym, it had, like, you didn't even have a fresh coat of paint.
Well, a lot of classrooms and
Yeah, and so it
corridors
was
versus,
just one
they
extreme
took
to
that
the
old,
other.
they took the old media center and put some paint on it and now put an art room. It really didn't
Yeah.
do much to
But
make
But
it.
that was money.
Well, yeah,
Well, I
all
just
this
think we
comes down to
need to
money.
be, yeah,
Yeah, I
very
mean,
smart
everything
about
comes
how
in
we're
this,
doing it.
I've got $11.5 million budget that I've got to do this addition, but I also have to upgrade the classrooms. Because that's where, your learners are going to have in the classroom, and there's certain deficiencies in those classrooms, not having a lot of electricity. It's noisy because I've got a high part ceiling in there, so try to do that with the floors.
I just don't want it to be as this building's ages 10, 20, 30 years. We're
Yeah.
gonna have one side that's completely falling apart,
Yeah, it's a,
It just,
any building project I do is a balancing act of some sort or another with the budget.
yeah.
That's the thing that we're going to need to overcome. You know, from here, by the end of April, I need to come back and present the schematic design. So that's where we're going to take one of these plans and really start fleshing out doors, alcoves, pathways, and really start to define, you'll start to see finer details.
Will we see it in 3D? Is that-
Yeah, I can bring it, and that's the other thing, what I'm going to try to do with this scheme and maybe a three-story, start looking at block volume diagrams at this time, because I don't have window design, I don't want to get into that yet. But once we get settled on plan, I can start then looking at elevation designs. That's the other thing, I've heard progression is that, this is a beautiful facade also in terms of this south face. It's got a very elegant facade. What we're going to try to do with this addition is not necessarily match it, but we want to make something complementary and be new in its own right. But whether that's through materials, or through colors, or window patterns, I've heard the idea, you definitely want it to look new, maybe a little modern, but we need to balance that what looks well against this. I like to always make, you've seen examples where they went out in the 1970s, you put this modernistic addition next to this historic building, and it's like, what, this, it's like a spaceship plane. Now, I want something that really matches, it goes well, links the fabric together, but you can definitely tell it's different. I think the people that went to Arlington Elementary and Lexington, you can see kind of that, where we kind of put this modern vocabulary and put it attached to the historical building.
Can you just kind of quickly go over the courtyard is part of the...
Yeah, I mean, when we're looking at this, we're looking at everything in terms of this courtyard that's out here. We want to redevelop this courtyard to make it more education, whether it's, the idea, if the art room is over here, it has direct access to this courtyard. So, a combination of hard and soft scapes in that courtyard to make it more classroom friendly, art friendly, for science. We need to look at that, something that's also maintenance a little bit easier. I mean, reducing the landscape and the brush out there, I think that's what we want to look at. So we wanted to develop that because, again, when you're walking around the school, you've got these single little corridors that have a lot of glass and look back into that space. And I think that's a great space that's probably underutilized right now that we could utilize. Because it's nice to have that enclosed space to help bring students out and not worry about the outside environment, intruding on that space. Again, we want to touch every square foot. Make it a difficult. That's the idea of our balance of budget. Renovating these classroom spaces, and some of those spaces. Meanwhile, I'm trying to create these wild spaces, these new learning experiences out. And I think we can do that, with the new media center, we can shape, if we want to, the cafeteria, the kitchen, looking at different serving types, whether we just do the traditional line or look at more, maybe a mini line with maybe more a la carte or self-serve items. We can take a look at that and how to create a better cafeteria experience. That multi-purpose room with the stage, I think is a good idea in terms of a smaller stage that could be more usable for talk about, you got a great high school auditorium, you want to do a full production of it, you can talk about, well, why don't you use that? It's not used all the time. Look at that. Music room on the stage, put the wall between the music and the gym to kind of create that sound. There's some storage in where the music room is now in the basement. Put that to storage. Again, that's elementaries and schools always need storage, and it's hard to build schools to do addition or renovate classroom in the storage. So again, we can use that basement area as this general storage or for mechanical spaces. Again, that's yeah.
Keep each garage big enough.
Right. I'm trying to use something like the kitchen storage, turning that into general storage on this level. Turning the boys' locker room more into a PE storage on that level. Right now, he's got a small room right here that's not very, it's a closet, really. He could have a desk in here, because I like, reuse these restrooms to small 2 seats, two picture count restrooms, but also a area on the side. afternoon, weekend games, the locker rooms, stuff like that. Again, you reuse kids, you don't need them, but it's hard to work with sometimes, especially off that gym area. There's a lot going on, a lot to think about, a lot of decisions to be made, a lot of pros and cons to looking at everything. So just trying to give you as many options, look and think this through.
When will we get to the point where we discuss this?
That'll be very soon, because part of that schematic design, I need to bring back a cost estimate. And also need to start looking at elevations in terms of windows, and doors, just materials, and that's part of that estimate. I need to start putting together some raw ideas. That SD package will have simplified plans, but also there's some elevations in terms of looking at administration and materials. So I think that's very important to the whole process. So again, I might be back in a couple weeks to take a look at that. So right now, in terms of getting that end of April SD deadline, I gotta really start focusing on one plan going forward. So I'm gonna try to come back in a day or two with looking at this, that third floor option. With some of the new volume studies and all that.
Any other questions? All right, well, thanks, Eric.
Yeah, there's a lot to take in. I appreciate
all that.
your patience.
All the-
I think we all kind of want to be on pretty exciting.
We don't have a need for an executive session tonight, so I guess we're done with the agenda, and we'll accept a motion to adjourn. Susan, you want a second?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so the meeting is adjourned. Thank everyone for coming tonight.
Thank you.